Hey everyone, Joshua Kirk here with you once again. Now it's time for episode 222 of Album of the Day, in which for today's album review I'm going to be talking about the new album from a Boston-based indie rock band that I never really got to know until just last year. But they put out quite a few albums for the label known as Sacred Bones Records, and recently have come out with their album, which is pretty much like their breakthrough, I would say. It's the band led by Damon McMahon and known as Amen Dunes. I'm here to review their latest album, which came out last year on March 30th, 2018, and the album is called Freedom. I recently bought this on vinyl at Ka-Chunk in January, like several months after the release of this album. And I'm definitely thrilled to review this album finally, because this is one of my favorite rock records of the year. I may not have ranked it like as high on my year-end list, but it has grown on me since then, and it's definitely one of the best of last year. There's the front cover, which is like a photo of his face, but I like this kind of clear portrait. It fits the album really well. And then there's the track listing. There's 11 tracks on it. It's over 46 minutes. And this is album 195 for Sacred Bones Records. And yeah, it's got a little insert here that has the lyrics. Yeah, definitely very nice to have like a big booklet of lyrics in here. And I really like how this text on the last page, it's pretty much in order of which all these things are referenced on the album. So it goes from like Thea, who is like an artificial intelligence voice you hear at the beginning of the album, to like Black Star, referenced on the last track. And then here's there's the sleeve. It's got the liner notes. I really like how in the liner notes they like to have different names for like the sounds of everything they play. So stuff like strawberry funk guitar, chime and bell guitars, dancing past gas lamps on a dark night guitars. That's one of my favorites. Where it's Hollywood Fire moan, which I think is like a keyboard sound or something. There's side A, and then there's side B. This is limited edition red vinyl, which is really cool. Yeah, that's the vinyl packaging for Freedom, the new album by Amen Dunes. Yeah, this is a record that stylistically it kind of pulls from styles of music such as like indie rock, folk rock, some psychedelia in there, and there's like even some elements of disco in there too. So this is a very versatile rock album. It opens up with this outro that features a little pep talk from this like little boy that sort of like sums up some of the lyrical themes that like permeate this album. And it could be a sample of like Damon McMahon, like when he was a kid or something like that. And it's over some kind of grimy keyboards, and it closes out with a really cool kind of robotic voice saying, "I don't have any feelings. I have a vacant mind." which is credited as an AI voice. So that means it's like coming from some sort of robot. Um, but and then it follows, and then following that is the first actual song on the record, Blue Rose, which is definitely a great track. I love how dancey and sexy the track is. The production on it sounds really cool, from the funky guitars and the kind of head bobbing percussion on there, and also. But one thing that really sticks out here is the vocals, which Damon McMahon has a pretty unique voice. I mean, his words sound kind of blurred, but yet they're still very comprehensive. Comprehensive. He sounds kind of like some like indie rock favorites a little bit, but one sort of comparison that I haven't really heard from him a lot, but I kind of saw in his voice was actually a little bit of David Gray, like White Ladder era David Gray. Gray, and I mean that as a compliment for sure. For sure, and there's some really nice poeticisms in the lyrics of this track too. Then following that is the kind of folky, introspective which sort of talks about sort of some mental health struggles that he's dealt with and stuff like that. Like, it sounds like he suffered from sorry. Like, it sounds like he suffered from depression and stuff like that. And lyrics like, time, so much time, some of the time, so much pain. Spain and southern, like, close to crying, solo gray. Low gray. And there's a bunch of cool references in here, like the line of, "It's over, German foot soldier, torch the night, the soldier's pain." Yeah, that's pretty poetic right there. And also I really like the production on here, the kind of haunting, atmospheric guitars, some guitars on here, a beautiful kind of roaring keyboard in the background, and the instruments are neatly timed with one another, like the drums and the guitars and stuff like that. It's the kind of thing that I would love to listen to while like on a highway, like in the night, where only the light of your car is the one that guides you there. The song "Skipping School" is definitely one of my favorite tracks on here. I love how it sort of make references to how his dad apparently wasn't necessarily such a great guy. Matter of fact, I actually heard recently in an article in Pace Magazine something pretty terrible that happened to Damon McMahon. He's actually been abused by his father as a kid. So that kind of, it makes this album, I think a little more emotionally affecting when I listen to it. Like, this song "Skipping School" is one track that's definitely become a little more powerful, like after hearing about that, tragedy. He started talking about how, Dad was always like sniffing glue in the alley, and how he used to like talk bad about him because he like never really knew him beyond kind of what made him kind of not such a great guy. But then also sort of making some affirming statements like, there's no use in being close-hearted. It got held up on my way to North Pigalle. Must have gone off in the wrong arrondissement. He said, one more stop and you would have found God. And then he puts on an incredible vocal performance during the second half of the track. Even at one point, kind of blurring his words, saying, like but it sounds like so emotionally powerful. As he does it over some really cool instrumentation, which features some kind of twangy desert-like guitars, some really nice piano in there, and gorgeous harmonica playing, too. So this definitely is one example of how kind of folky this album is at points. But then it's followed up with the dancey and upbeat "Calling Paul the Suffering," which does make some references to like the Messiah and some kind of religious kind of stuff, but like uses it as more kind of a metaphor for how kind of reborn sort of Damon McMahon feels. Like this is probably him at his most euphoric to date. Like he's kind of learned how to move on despite how kind of messy his life has kind of been. And I love the way the production sounds on here. The staccato guitars on here, along with the kind of joyous, piano and percussion on here. And then following that, one track that I consider to be in my top 3 songs on this album, the song Miki, Dora, which I really like how the song sort of, I love the kind of driving groove of the song. It pretty much keeps you engaged for its whole 5 minutes and 3 seconds. 3 seconds, featuring some kind of funky keyboards, as well as some kind of steadily chugging drums. And another track where I think his vocal performance really stands out. Waves are gone. Pride destroyed me, man, till it took a hold of me. Definitely in anything but bland vocal performance there. He's definitely very entertaining in his presence vocally. And as the song builds up, it definitely has a really cool sort of climax, to the point where that bound and down down bound 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 down comes in. I'm hooked. Probably the weakest track on here, in my opinion, would probably have to be the song Sata Dada. I don't know how to say it, but this track definitely is a little bit underwhelming, in my opinion. Musically, it doesn't really stick with me the way other tracks do. Though, as I've listened to this album progressively, the song has grown on me a little bit because of its lyrics, because of its lyrical content, where he really gets to the point of kind of his tough, not very close relationship with his father. And sort of telling him things like, think you're a big man, why don't you talk back, and sort of showing how he didn't really treat him that great. But then also, he uses that line as some sort of beautiful little affirmation, like, think you're a big man, why don't you talk back. And then I really like the song. And then we get the song Believe, which kind of has a little bit of a soulful feel to it, but definitely a little more in an indie rock sort of vein. But I definitely really like this song. It's like another track that also feels like something you could listen to out in the desert or while driving at night. The guitars sound really good on here. And the song structure on here is definitely very unique. It ranges from kind of twangy folk rock with some very engaging lyrics, sort of harkening back to hearing them playing his song on the radio back in 1992. but then it transitions into like something funkier, and it does it in a very tight and really cool way. Before the song eventually ends with a kind of almost tribal sort of groove at the end, and featuring some kind of chant-like background vocals and some like really neat percussion and sound effects on there too that kind of punctuate it. And his vocal. And he definitely is singing very, like, emotionally on here when he says, "Let's not talk too heavy. I'll see you next go round. Echoes back all things at last. Return where they belong." The song Dracula opens up with this really cool, synth noise, which, yeah, sounds kind of like an air raid siren a little bit. Hence the liner notes of Hollywood fire moan. And this is one example of how I really like how he sort of make references to all these different characters and people and figures, but yet all of those characters pretty much seem to be him. So he's sort of likening himself to someone who used to run around with the vampires uptown. And I also really like the lyrics of Cutie's mind is on fire. She had a spiritual good time. She's never been a good student, but she's cute. And how he represents that vocally is like one of the most satisfying moments of the entire record. Though it may be a little bit of a lull also, but you know it's still definitely a great track nonetheless. With a really nice lead guitar part. And then after that we have the title track, the song Freedom, which is definitely very beautiful. His opening, na na na, just pulls me in right away. And also really love the kind of atmospheric sounds that he plays with on here. It sounds to me like something maybe Big Thief would have done on the album Capacity, but but still at the same time very unique and kind of far apart from that sort of thing. Here, and I really love the kind of simple lyrics and the way and how he kind of sings them enough to leave an emotional impact. With lyrics like, "It's cold here, but you came in. He can close his eyes, but you know he can't fake it. I will hold him until he's done. So be it. Avian, patient, hesitation." And also I do have to give that song kudos for that really fun sort of folk rock jam part at the end. And then after that is my favorite track on the album, the closer, L.A., which that's another song that really does show this album's versatility really well too. There's actually a little bit of grime influence to be found on this track. Like, by far, probably the gothiest track on the entire record. Also some really engaging lyrics throughout. And it's really cool how, in the middle of the song, we basically get nothing but some electronic textures and samples and his voice. And it sounds very powerful, and they do use the little kid speaking sample that was used as the intro to the album really nicely as kind of a conclusion for the album. And then the transition that it makes after that is awesome. Awesome. The kind of rolling sort of percussion and the kind of dark electronic textures on here sounds so incredible. And I was recently listening to this album while I was in the car and we were heading to a concert at night. And when it got to this song and I was surrounded by city lights, it was magical. Magical. And I really like, and lyrics on here, he sort of talks about how some of his experiences down in LA, and stuff like that. Like that, and sort of reflecting on feelings of introspection and stuff like that. And finally, the song does close out with some really cool, kind of eerie, like spoken word sampling that sounds kind of like pitched down to the point where it sounds kind of like a little tribal chant at the end. Yeah, I really dig this record. It definitely deserved all the critical acclaim it's gotten this year. It's been on year-end lists for publications such as Pitchfork, Brooklyn Vegan, and Pace Magazine, and for a good reason. It definitely, like, the production on here is phenomenal. The vocals definitely really stood out and have a lot of very unique things going on, and songwriting is very high quality. It definitely is pretty much the magnum opus of their career, which makes it kind of makes sense I say that, because I haven't really heard much else from this band yet, but I would definitely love to hear some of the other stuff they've done, because yeah, this album is really that good. So my final score for Freedom is 8.6 out of 10. Definitely check out this record, and I'll see you for episode 223.